Hello, double A effort students. Hope you all are doing well. As you have been requested so many times that why I am not recording a lecture for the F8 audit and assurance. Even though I have recorded the F7 complete lectures, SBR and AAA. Considering your request, now I am deciding to record proper lectures for the F8 AA. I will try my best to upload the complete course within 1 and 1.5 months. If I talk about the AA Audit and Assurance course, in this course we have total 23 topics or 23 chapters. I will try to cover one topic or one lecture in one day, or you can say 2 days, because there are some chapters which may take 1 or 2 days. So once we will move forward, we will decide either to complete that particular topic in one day or 2 days. So no need to worry at all. In these lectures of chapter wise, after every topic, I will give you the concept review questions. Now guys, you have to promise me that after watching this lecture, you will solve those concept review questions, because there is no point if you are not putting your efforts in this series. Otherwise, it's just a one-sided effort from my side, which is like that I was just recording the lecture and uploading it on the ACCA Passpoint YouTube channel. If you are not practicing those concept review questions, then again, it's your loss. So guys, I will try to solve the past paper questions in the separate lectures. First, we will start with the chapter wise or topic wise lectures. After each topic, there will be concept review questions. I will try to solve few questions for your understanding, then the remaining questions will be your assignment. You guys can send me your assignments if you want to give the assurance on your assignments, because this topic or this subject is all about the assurance. So assurance is very, very important. Let's start the chapter number 1 of audit and assurance, which is introduction to assurance. So why assurance is very important? Means why we are performing the audit and why we give the assurance. We will cover to whom the assurance is given and on what matter the assurance is provided. So before starting this concept or this lecture, I have a question for you. Why assurance is important? Okay, you can comment down your answer. Now let me tell you why we give in an assurance and why an assurance is important. So, in every organization, there is a management, there is a director, means there is a proper hierarchy. And most of the time, shareholders do not have enough time to always there in the organization to maintain the check and balance of the organization's operations. And in most of the time, management has an incentive and pressure to meet the sales target. Sometimes the directors, the higher management gives the target to the lower management that you have to meet the sales target this year. Let's say the higher management gives the lower management the target to complete the 80% sales target this year. Now you can consider that there might be a pressure on the management from the higher management, or there is an incentive for the lower management from the higher management. It means the higher management can ask the lower management, if you meet this target, then you will receive the bonus. So now, guys, don't you think the lower management has now an incentive or pressure from the higher management in order to meet this target? So there is a possibility that the lower management can manipulate the financial results. means they may overstate their revenue, they may understate their expenses. So if they are understating their expenses or overstating their revenue, so their profit will be overstated. And based on that profit, they may receive good bonuses. So now for the shareholders assurance, shareholders or stakeholders. Stakeholder means general public. So for the shareholder assurance, shareholders need an independent person who can provide independent information, independent report to the shareholder based on the work performed by the management. So why an independent persons are necessary for such assurance? Because if the independent person provide assurance to the shareholders, means provide report to the shareholders, then that report will give the better, or you can say fair presentations to the shareholder. In every organization, there is an internal audit team, but that internal audit team is not independent. Why? Because they provide report to the directors. Then directors give the report to the shareholders. So there is a possibility that directors and their internal audit team and management can manipulate the financial figures. So based on that, for the confidential, for the independent information, shareholders hire independent experts or independent assurance provider. So who are those assurance providers or independent experts? That are external auditors. Means we are an independent assurance provider. We are an external auditors who provide assurance to the shareholders based on the work performed by the management. What report we will issue, we will learn in the next topics. But for now, this topic is about the introduction to assurance, means what is the assurance, how assurance is provided, and why assurance is necessary. So now guys, let's start the learning object 1 of today's lecture. Learning object 1 is about the origin and advantages of assurance service. Origin of assurance service means from where the assurance is started. This is just an introductory paragraph. Since the Industrial Revolution in 18th century, businessmen, stakeholders, shareholders, investors started forming joint stock companies to do business. Usually people who manage the company called management or directors. Remember, shareholders not manage the company, okay? Usually, people who manage the company, this question can ask in your MCQs. Usually, the people who manage the company called management or directors are separate from those who own the company called shareholders. They are the investors. They have an interest, a stake in the organization. But the persons who run, who manage the company are the management or directors. Now, although in some companies both means shareholders slash management or directors may be the same. What are those companies in which there is the one shareholder and that shareholder is also working as a manager or director? In case of owner managed business means SMCs, small member companies, small companies in which there is a one shareholder and that shareholder also acting as a manager or director. So, and family owned business. So, in that case, the shareholders can be a manager or a director. Now, guys, to judge the performance of management and directors. Now, this is why assurance is important. To judge the performance means to challenge to review the performance of management and directors. Shareholders ask them to prepare and present them financial statement. There are five components in the financial statement. The first one is SOFP, Statement of Financial Position. The second one is SOPL or SOCI, Statement of Profit, Loss and Comprehensive Income. The third one is SOCI, Statement of Changes in Equity. Then fourth, Statement of Cash Flows. Then the fifth, Notes to the Statement, means disclosures. Now, who prepared the financial statement? It's the management directors who prepare the financial statement. Why? Because shareholders ask them to prepare the financial statement. Now, once they provide financial statement to the shareholders, then for the true and fair view of the financial statement, shareholders appoint an independent person, means external auditor, to audit the financial statement. Why? To ensure that financial statements are free from material misstatement. What is the meaning of material misstatement? Means there are no significant errors, there are no significant omissions. Now, soon after, it was realized that financial statements prepared by management directors presented best view. Best view means for the best interest of these two persons. It is not about the true and fair view. True and fair view means free from error. But when these management and directors present the financial statement to the shareholders, that financial statement may present a best view. And best view is not a true and fair view. Best view means in which they have a personal interest. Remember the incentive. Best view of business instead of true and fair view. Why? Due to some incentives, bonus, or pressures, fear of removal faced by the management. So the overall conclusion of this paragraph, it means shareholder ask the management or director to prepare the financial statement. Once they prepare the financial statement, there is a possibility that the financial statement may be manipulated. So for the true and fair view, shareholders ask the independent party, means external auditor, to provide assurance on the financial statement. Why? To ensure that financial statements are free from material misstatement. Now, guys, thus credibility of financial statements was questioned. To enhance the credibility, confidence, assurance on these financial statements. Yes, if you can see, the financial statements are prepared by the internal person. Internal means the management of the company. So how as an investor you can rely on the financial statement? Let me give you an example. Let's say you are an investor and you are going to acquire the shares of ABC company. And the ABC company has a financial statement which shows earning per share of 20%. So will you directly rely on the earning per share given in the financial statement, or will you ask the audit report? Of course, you will ask an audit report if you are a good investor or you have a better market research. You will ask the third party confirmation. Why you will not rely on the FS? Because that FS was prepared by the internal persons, means management or director. So for the confirmation, for the assurance, you will rely on the auditor's report, means financial statement audited by the external auditors, independent auditors. Now, guys, thus, credibility of financial statement was questioned. To enhance the credibility, confidence, assurance on these financial statements. An expert person called assurance provider or external auditor was hired by shareholders to verify financial statements accuracy, to ensure financial statement present true and fair view. Auditor is an independent of both management and shareholders. Means we are independent of both the shareholders who appoint us, and the management which work we evaluate, we challenge. Now, guys, independent means we should not have any inter or intrapersonal relationship with any client member. Okay. Now, services of auditors were appreciated greatly. Nowadays, assurance engagements are performed either because, so there are two assurance, statutory and voluntarily. Statutory means if required by law, if you have a, let's say you are listed on the stock exchange. If you are listed on any stock exchange, then it's mandatory, it's statutory, you have to perform the audit. Now there are voluntarily audit. Means let's say you have a private entity and you do not have any statutory requirement to do the audit of their account, but you for your personal satisfactions you are performing the audit. So there are two kinds. They are required by law called statutory assurance engagement. Most companies are required by law to get their annual financial statements audited before they are given to shareholders, or they are not required by law but are voluntarily performed because of its advantages. What are the advantages of the audit? We will cover in the later slide. Called non-statutory assurance engagements. Example, audit or review of sole proprietorship means single member company, partnerships, not for profit organizations, NPOs, and small companies conducting an audit. So, now, guys, from origin till here, we cover the basics of the assurance, why assurance is important. Now, we are going to start the relationship between shareholders and directors management. So in every organization, there are three-party relationship. Three-party means shareholders, director management, and independent assurance provider means state auditors, external auditor. So three-party relationship. Auditors like we, shareholders who appoint us, management directors whom work we checked. So remember three-party relationship. Now learn these three definitions. Following concepts explain the nature of relationship of directors management with shareholders. First, we have a steward. Stewardship, you can say, is the practice of managing other person's property. Other person's property means directors or management act as the stewardship. They have a role of stewardship means they are running or managing the company of the shareholder. So this means other person's property means other shareholders company who manage or run is the directors or management. So they are steward. Stewardship is the practice of managing other person's property. The directors have a stewardship role. They look after the assets of the company and manage them on behalf of shareholders. Now, guys, agent. There are agent and principal relationship. Agent and principal relationship is between the shareholders and the auditors. We work or we act as an agent for the shareholder. So shareholder is the principal and directors. If we are working in the company as a director, then we are the agent and shareholders are the principals. Agent. An agent is an individual who acts on behalf of the principal. In this case, in a company, directors are agent and shareholders are principal. Means directors should have to act in accordance with the instructions and in best interest of shareholders. There is a possibility that the directors can involve in fraudulent financial reporting or involve in misappropriation of assets. So we have to be skeptical. That's why we are an independent of both shareholders and management directors. because there is a possibility that the shareholders can also involve with the directors in all the wrongdoings. So again repeating, the independence is very, very important in our role, means in the auditor's role. In the throughout your chapters, you will learn two important things: independence and professional skepticism. These two are the essentials, or you can say the principles of the audit of the external auditors. Now, guys, accountable. Who will be the accountable? As agents of the shareholders, directors are accountable to shareholders. Of course, directors show their accountability to shareholders. How? By preparing annual financial statements and presenting them to the shareholders for their decision making. Based on that financial statement, shareholders will make their decision. So now guys, these three headings or definitions are very, very important because the examiner can give you the MCQ or can ask a theory based question on this topic as well. Like the examiner can ask you to explain the difference between these three or these two. Now, there are advantages of audit assurance engagement. You can say audit or assurance engagement. Now, advantages number one, it increases the credibility of financial statement. Of course, if financial statements are audited by independent external auditor, so the reliance on the financial statement can be more than the unaudited financial statement. As most of the misstatements are identified, auditor identifies deficiencies in entities' internal control system and gives recommendations to management to improve it. Let's say you are performing an audit of ABC company, and in that company, they have a sales department. And the sales department, whenever sales anything to the customer, they are not obtaining or getting the signature of the customer, means there is no receiving signature. So what do you think? What if the customer will get their order, but after few times or sometimes the customer can demand that he or she will not receive their order? So it means there is a control weakness. Why control weakness? Because the sales department will not obtain the signature of the customers at the time of receiving the goods. So this is the control weakness, and we as an auditor gives recommendation to the management to improve it, means to obtain the signature of the customers at the time of sales. Now guys, there is an important term. It means gives recommendation. There is nothing mentioned about the opinion. Why? Because we as an auditor will not provide, will not give opinion if controls are ineffective. We just give recommendation, even though we cannot ask or means we cannot design or implement the internal controls of the client. Once we move to the later chapters, then you will have the better clarity. This is the initial stage, so I will explain those things which is important from now. So, it confirms that management is performing its statutory and non-statutory duties. It assists in sale or purchase of business. Yes, if you have an audited financial statement, then it will be easy to buy or sell your business. It assists in grant of loan by bank. Yes, if you are securing finance from the bank, and most of the time bank demand audited FS. If you have the audited financial statement, then you can easily secure the finance from the bank or other financial institutions. Now guys, these are the two concept review questions on these topics which we have covered above. Question number one is about to discuss the concepts of stewardship and accountability in the context of limited company, means private company. So you just have to write these two definitions. Now, Question number two, explain which factors would suggest that new health food should have an audit and which factors would suggest that an audit is not required. This is a proper case study which is from the CGA, means Certified General Accountants Canada, external auditing one. So in these notes or in these topics, I will not cover only ACCA questions. There are other professional accounting bodies, so I will also include their questions as well, because you never know, the examiner can pick any questions from anywhere. So this is your assignment because it require your thinking capabilities. If I will explain this scenario to you, then there is no point, because you will just brainstorm those things and just root learn the answer. So it's your assignment. You have to think and write three factors why audit is necessary and three factors why audit is not necessary. So this is your assignment. Now guys, learning object 2, definition and elements of assurance engagement. First, we start with the assurance engagement, the term which we have started from the last 20 to 25 minutes. What is an assurance engagement? Assurance engagement means an engagement in which a practitioner means we auditor, obtains evidence, evidence means information, means proof about evaluation of a subject matter. Subject matter means financial statement. It could be information prepared by the management or director. Evaluation of a subject matter against suitable criteria and expresses conclusion, opinion to enhance the confidence of the intended users. Intended users mean shareholders or stakeholders. Now, this is the definition of an assurance engagement. In this definition, all the elements of assurance engagement is covered in this definition. Now, elements of assurance engagement we have here, but I will link all these elements with this definition. Let's start three-party relationship. If you remember in the start, I mentioned there are three parties. Auditor means practitioner or independent person. Responsible party, management, director, intended users, shareholders, stakeholders. Now, three-party relationship, intended users. Look, intended user here. Responsible party we have here, who prepare the subject matter, and practitioner we have here. So three party is covered from this definition. Intended users, the parties who require subject matter. Subject matter means FS. Okay. And assurance report. Assurance report means audit report. Who are the intended users? Shareholders, bankers, lawyers. It could be anything. So shareholders and stakeholders. Now, responsible party. The party which is responsible for preparation of subject matter means financial statement. Who is responsible to prepare the FS? Please tell. Management directors. Now we have a practitioner. The professional who verifies subject matter and provides assurance on it, that is auditor in an audit. Now guys, we have a subject matter. Subject matter is mentioned here, so again it's linked with the definition. Subject matter is the information prepared by responsible party. Responsible party means management director and is verified by practitioner. Example, historical financial statements or cash flow forecast means past information or the future information prepared by the management or directors. Now, suitable criteria. Criteria means framework, applicable financial reporting framework. You have to ensure that the financial statement prepared by the management are based on applicable financial framework or not. So, criteria is suitable criteria is against linked with the definition. So, all the five elements are linked with the definition. Criteria means framework, framework basis, IFRS, income tax ordinance, every country, every region has a specific applicable financial reporting framework, which is used by responsible party. Responsible party means management director. Why? To prepare subject matter. Subject matter means financial statement, historical or cash flow forecast, and used by practitioner. Practitioner is an auditor. Why? To evaluate the subject matter, to ensure that the subject matter prepared by the management are based on applicable financial reporting framework. Now, guys, suitable means it should be selected appropriately. There is a proper study between this selection. There is a proper research, proper regulations of rules, evidence. Again, let me tell you, this is interlinked with this definition. Look, evidence. So, evidence is the information used by the practitioner in arriving at the conclusion on which his report is based. Let's say in the financial statement, there are some sales from the foreign customer. You are working in the ABC company and the ABC has sold some goods to the foreign customer. So how will you ensure, how will you verify that the sales to the foreign customer are genuine or not? Of course, you will ask for some documentation such as sales invoice, such as bank statement in which the customer sends you the money for this sales. So these are the information used by you, means practitioner auditor. Why? In arriving at the conclusion on which his report is based, then only we as an auditor will express an opinion conclusion that the sales in the financial statements are accurate or correct. So evidence should be sufficient and appropriate, means it should be sufficient. When we move to the chapter 3 or topic 3, then I will explain there. But for the time being, just assume that the evidence should be sufficient, means it should be important and appropriate. It should cover your criteria. Now, guys, written assurance report. This is the audit report. Look, conclusions to enhance the confidence. Okay. Again, all the five elements are interlinked with the definition. So definition is very important. This is the explanation of the definition. Five element is the written assurance report. It is a report written in standard format as per ISAs, as per applicable auditing standards, or as per local laws. Because in every region, in every country, there are local laws as well. So if you are in the India, in the South Africa, UK, Pakistan, in whatever region you are, there are applicable laws as well. So while you are writing or submitting your report, then you have to consider the implications of the local laws as well. So it is a report written in standard format as per ISAs or as per local laws, which includes conclusion of practitioner. It is provided by practitioner, means auditor, to intended user, shareholders. If any of the above element is missing, engagement will be called non-assurance engagement. Then it will not be considered as an assurance engagement. Non-assurance means it is other than audit or review engagement. Now, guys, on this topic, there is another concept review question. Briefly explain any four elements of an assurance engagement. So this is your assignment. Just read and write. Now, guys, learning object 3 and the last learning object for today's lecture. Levels of assurance and why absolute assurance cannot be provided. Okay, this is the most important learning object in today's lecture, because this concept, this learning object 3 will help you in the rest of your chapters. If you will not listen this thing or you will not understand this learning object 3, then it will give you the worst nightmare in your entire double A course. So please be attentive. Level of assurance, there are three levels of assurance. And why absolute assurance cannot be provided. Okay, so you just covered the meaning of assurance. Assurance means to confidence, to give you the evaluation, to provide the report. Why? To gain the confidence of the stakeholders, of the shareholders. So assurance means confidence. There are three levels of assurance depending on extent of work. Means the assurance level is depend on the extent of work. Now, again, read the learning object 3 heading. Levels of assurance and why absolute assurance cannot be provided. Before start reading the levels of assurance, let me tell you why absolute assurance cannot be provided. So, what do you think? Will you say that the financial statements are 100% accurate? What if after your audit report means you will say that this financial statement is 100% accurate? Every information, every transaction in the financial statement is correct. Means everything is true and fair. After some time, there is a misstatement, there is an error, there is an omission in the financial statement. So who will be responsible in that case? Please tell me. Of course, you will be the responsible party. Why? Because you provide the assurance, you give the confidence to the intended users that the financial statements are 100% correct. That's why absolute assurance cannot be provided by the external auditors because it will affect their professional liability. We have a set scope, we work on that scope, we have to protect ourselves as well. That's why we only provide two assurance, limited or reasonable assurance. Now I will explain the difference between limited and reasonable assurance. Hope you get the thing why absolute assurance cannot be provided. So guys, limited assurance. Let's say the complete level of assurance is 100% and no one can provide 100% assurance in this world. So you are out of the 100% assurance league, means you cannot provide absolute 100% assurance. So from below means 100% down, there are other levels. Let's say 99%, 98%, 97%, 96%, or 95%. So now guys, from 1% to 99%, you can provide two assurance. The first one is limited assurance. The second one is reasonable assurance. Limited means you are limiting yourself. Let's say you limit yourself by 75% assurance. You can say that I can only provide 75% assurance that this engagement or this audit financial statement is correct. So now from 75% onwards till 99%, you can provide an additional assurance, which is a reasonable assurance. Means reasonable assurance is better than limited assurance. In the reasonable assurance, you are not limiting yourself. You can say that based on my opinion, this financial statement gives true and fair view. So why the audit firm provide reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance? Because in the reasonable assurance, you have a chance to protect your liability. You are not provide the assurance, the confidence to the intended user that this financial statement is 100% correct. You are keeping the distance, the margin, in order to protect your liability, professional liability. That's why you are not saying this is 100% means absolute assurance. You are saying or you are writing, you are expressing a reasonable assurance means to the extent of 99% but less than 100%, we are giving you the assurance that this financial statement is correct. There is a 1% assurance level remaining. If you cover 100%, then you will at higher risk. That's why, in order to protect the professional liability, we protected ourselves till the reasonable assurance. Okay, these percentage are not defined in the ISAs. These percentage I have just chosen for your explanation or for your better clarity. Now, guys, limited assurance, also called moderate level or negative assurance. Before reading the content, the difference between the limited assurance is the reasonable assurance. If you can read the word limited, limited means the responsibilities, the roles, the procedures of the audit team are limited. Whereas in the reasonable assurance, you work everything means you perform more procedures, you have a sample size, based on that you perform the procedures, you do everything. But in the limited assurance, your scope, your procedures are limited. If you remember the 75% example. So just understand with this example that in the limited, you are limiting yourself by 75%. And in the reasonable assurance, you can go from 1% to the 99%. 100% is the elimination. Now, guys, limited assurance. It is a moderate level of assurance expressed in negative form of conclusion. Negative form means the drafting wording, the opinion of this assurance is in the negative tone. Let's read this. Expressed in negative form of conclusion, that is, this is the standardized wording, so you have to read or memorize these wordings. Based on our review, the word is review, not audit, because limited assurance is not the audit, it's a review. Audit and review is the type of assurance engagement. In the review, we provide limited assurance, which is the moderate or negative assurance. In the audit, we provide reasonable assurance, also called high level or positive assurance. So again, repeating, in the limited assurance, you have a limited scope. This is not the audit. This is a review. So your wording should be like based on our review means we have reviewed these things. So based on our review, nothing has come. So because of this nothing, this is the negative assurance. Nothing has come to our attention that causes us to believe that these financial statements do not give a true and fair view of the financial position of ABC Limited as at 31st December 2001 and its financial performance on cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with IFRS. So again repeating, from nothing has come, it means nothing has come to our attention. We have not identified anything. There is nothing in our attention that make us believe that the financial statement prepared by management is providing incorrect means best view rather than true and fair view. Okay. Now, this level of assurance is usually given in review of historical financial statements or review of cash flow forecast. I hope you are getting it. If still you are not getting this thing, that you can comment down. I will explain each of you. Okay, guys. I will create a separate WhatsApp group for the AA students, even though I have group for other subjects as well, in which I am monitoring the things very closely. So if you want to add in the AA group, please comment down. I will give you the link. Reasonable assurance. Reasonable assurance, also called high level or positive assurance. In the audit, auditor provide reasonable assurance. In the review, means in the limited scope, auditor provide moderate or limited assurance. It is a high, means 99%, but not absolute, not 100%. Level of assurance expressed in positive form of conclusion. Why positive? Because the wording of this assurance is positive. Let's read. In our opinion, financial statements give true and fair view of financial position of ABC Limited at 31st December 2001. Now you can compare. The wording of the limited assurance is start based on our review. Nothing has come to our attention. Now in the reasonable, in the audit, in our opinion, financial statement give true and fair view. There is no negative wording. Okay, like nothing, do not. So these are the differences. This level of assurance is usually given in an audit of historical financial statement. This is the review of historical or review of cash flow. The audit is only for the historical financial statements. Now guys, reasonable assurance means auditor does not certify or guarantee. Because if you are certifying or guarantee, then it's an absolute assurance. So we are not providing an absolute assurance. Reasonable assurance means auditor does not certify. Highlight these words. These are very important. Does not certify or guarantee that financial statements are free from all misstatement. These wordings are very, very important. Examiner can play with these wordings. There may still be some undetected misstatements even after the audit due to inherent limitations. Now, what are the inherent limitations due to which we provide reasonable assurance, not an absolute assurance? So, these are the inherent limitations. Absolute assurance cannot be provided. Absolute assurance means certification or guarantee that financial statements are free from all misstatements. The key word is all. All means eliminating every issues, every error from this FS. Auditor cannot provide absolute assurance because most of the audit evidence is persuasive rather than conclusive due to inherent limitations of audit. So these are the inherent limitations. Please remember these limitations. Nature of financial statements. Nature of financial statement means the financial statements prepared based on estimates judgment. And these factors mean these estimate judgments are based or vary from other specific factors such as industry to industry, ISAs to IFRS. So these are based on estimates, forecast, judgment. So there is always an inherent risk. Means these are risky by nature. Means from the birth, these are the risky areas. So number one inherent limitation is the nature of financial statement. Estimate, judgments, and uncertainties are involved in accounting estimates. Nature of audit procedures. Management may not provide complete information to auditor. Of course, if management is not willing to provide the information, then you can't do the audit. So this is the limitation number two. Auditor does not have legal power to search. Of course, you can't search. It's not your duty. It's the duty of the police, of the investigating department. So due to this limitation, you cannot provide absolute assurance as well. Fraud involving collusion and complex techniques means management and the client or the higher management are involved and complex techniques such as year-end transactions or involving senior management are harder to detect than if all the persons of the entity are involved in the fraud. Then how you will identify? Of course, you will just sit in the corner and just try to understand what is going on with me in this client. Limitation number three, time and cost limitation. Therefore, auditor plans audit in such a way that he directs its efforts on risky areas and uses sampling. If you don't know, we as an external auditor perform the work based on the samples. We cannot or we can't check 100% transactions. There are samples. Once we move to the later chapters or next chapters, we will cover about the samples. So for the time being, we perform the audit based on samples. Let's say in the sales there are transactions of 100 millions. We obtain the breakup of the 100 million transactions from the client. So now how will we verify those 100 million transactions? We will pick high volume transactions such as there are 20 transactions of 20 million each. So based on that, we will select 10 to 15 and those 10 to 15 are based on the sample. So we perform audit based on sample. That's why this is the one limitation as well. There are always some inherent limitations in client's internal control system. Yes, client control can be ineffective. If you remember the sales example, the sales department did not obtain the customer signature. Company staff may not be available to answer auditor's questions or to provide him documents. Yes, most of the time the staff may not or don't want to involve with the audit team. Many of the audit procedures are based on auditor's judgment, which may be faulty. Yes. So the main crux of today's lecture or chapter number one, Introduction to Audit or Assurance is there are advantages why audit is important. There are two kinds, statutory and voluntary. Statutory, those required by law, means those are listed on the stock exchange. And voluntary means it based on the entity to entity. Now guys, after that we learned the assurance engagement definition in which we have five elements. Three-party relationship, intended user means shareholder, responsible persons, director, management, then practitioner, auditor. Auditor should be independent of both management and shareholder. Then we have a subject matter. Subject matter means information prepared by the management or director, such as financial statement, prospective or cash flow forecast. Then we have a suitable criteria. Criteria means the framework on which the financial statement prepared by the management are based on applicable AFRF, applicable financial reporting framework. Suitable means it should be selected appropriately. Then we have an evidence. Evidence is the information, is the document on which we, the external auditor, the independent auditor, rely. Remember the sales transactions. Now, guys, after that, we issue the report, written assurance report. Once we perform our work, we provide the report to the shareholders. Now, after that, we covered the level of assurance. I started with why absolute assurance is not provided, means why 100% assurance we cannot provide because of these limitations. Now, we can only provide two assurance. If you talk about the audit, then in the audit, there is only one assurance, which is reasonable. Reasonable assurance means it is a high but not an absolute level of assurance. In the reasonable assurance, we cannot certify or guarantee that financial statements are free from all misstatement. If we made these statements, then it will affect our professional liability. And if we talk about the review, in the review, we offer limited assurance. Why? Because we have a limited scope of work. We did not perform the detailed procedure, the detailed substantive procedure, test of details. We have to restrict ourselves to the 75%. In the absolute assurance, there are inherent limitations. In the reasonable assurance, we can provide assurance till 99%, but there is an exception of 100%. Why? Because 100% is the absolute, which we cannot provide it. So now guys, that's it for today's lectures. I will cover the introduction of the audit and assurance. Okay, in the now you have the concept review questions for the last topic, for the last learning object. This is your assignment as well. If you move down, scroll down, there are suggested answer of the above concept review question. But please do not jump to the suggested answer. First try to solve it. Then if you can't, then move to the suggested answers for your understanding. So now guys, if you want me to upload further lectures, like if you are satisfied with my learning, with my teaching style, then please comment down because it will give me the motivation. Okay. Also, if you want to add in the WhatsApp group of double A, then comment down. I will give you the link. I have not created the WhatsApp group. I will only create if I will receive the confirmation from the students. If you have any queries or any feedback, then please comment down and you can ask or discuss your queries as well. Take care and goodbye.